good morning. So let me start with an apology that we're supposed to be starting this meeting, I believe, at 10:30. We're about 25 minutes late. My sincere apologies. As much as Mr. Rajiv Pawar, who is the founder of NU, is stickler for his punctuality, I equally believe in it, but this was something which was not under our control. I'm sorry about this, but pardon us for it. But don't take this as an exception when you continue with your classes in NU. First, I'd like to congratulate all of you for being admitted into NU University as it's called. Not just because I serve on the governing board, but I know how much amount of commitment and passion Mr. Rajiv Pawar has towards education. That's how he had the vision in creating NIIT itself as an education institution way back in the early 80s. Given that the passion that he has, and given the type of work that's being done by him and his team, especially Professor Pandey and the rest of the team, I certainly feel that all of you should consider yourself to be very lucky to be in NIIT University. I don't want this conversation, which is going to last for next maybe 90 minutes or so, to be a one-way transaction. I like this to be interactive. So therefore, if people find something boring, I like you not to share your thoughts with your neighbor, but I like to stand up and share your thoughts with me. For the two young ladies who didn't hear me, if you have something interesting to talk, just don't limit it to you and your neighbor, share it with all of us. We'll be very delighted about it. So you have a chance. Do you want to talk? No? No, you can be absolutely brave. Stand up and say what you like to share with the rest of the audience.
Sir, you are not audible yet.
It's not audible right now? Good, you should have said that. Thank you. Sir, wait. Is it audible now? Is it any better? No. But since many people are smiling, I need to ask people behind you saying, is it audible to them?
I'll just go and check. Never wrong with this.
No. No, will not invite trouble for that. So therefore, I, in several ways, believe that you're very lucky children to be in this university. And more importantly, I think you're very lucky to be born in the internet age. I look back at my own life for the last 20 years and start seeing how I have changed. Literally, the information technology age has transformed me, transformed all of you. Because the way in which we behave, the way in which we interact, the way in which we transact, the way in which we think, the way in which we actually enjoy our life has become so different. I say that you're lucky because you look back at how the industrial revolutions happened to mankind in this universe. The first industrial revolution was way back in the 18th century. And when people started discovering things like steel, and then it took them almost 100 years before the second industrial revolutions came in, when people started looking at the steam engine and so on and so forth. But thereafter, people stopped even using that there are revolutions that will happen in industry for the simple reason that it didn't take that long. That was not the amount of time it took for revolution to happen. The third one, if you want to like to call it, which is more to do with the telecommunication technologies, for certain, they originally start thinking in terms of having them change coming in every 10 years. So actually, if you look at computers, there's this terminology called first generation computers, second generation computers, and so on and so forth. By the time they went past the fourth generation, it didn't take 10 more years any longer for a generation of computers to come by. It took much, much shorter. So therefore, people stopped even using the word called industrial revolutions. They stopped using the word called computer generations. All of it has shrunk down to say that every day there's a change. And the pace at which this change is happening is amazing. The pace at which we experience new things is dramatically different. I go almost every 3 months into US. That's what my business takes. There's no other reason for me to be there. And every time I go there, I find something which is distinctively different from what I saw in the past. New applications, new interesting applications that came in. So therefore, if you look at the internet back again, originally what was internet was supposed to be communication between two computers. Computers of what size? A room-based computer, a room full of computers. There was just one single computer in a room of this size. And communicating with another computer which is as big as huge as this. And what was it costing? Somewhere in the range of about $2 million. That's what it was. $2 million in today's rupee terms means it's about 12 crores was what was the computer costing. That is how the internet started off, as communication between two machines. But what have we seen thereafter is that today the internet is omnipresent. How many of you are online right now? Can you lift your hands? The young men who have their laptops open, are you online? No, you're offline at this point in time. So do we have Wi-Fi in this room? Yes, you do, but you're not connected currently. So if you look at it, I don't have an objection if people are doing some work themselves. The fact that I'm trying to bring this example with this, especially I see these 3 laptops which are open in front of me, is the fact that all of us can do parallel processing. Otherwise, if you found a lecture interesting, you could always make notes. If you found the you found the lecture boring, you could always do something more interesting for yourself. So therefore, what has internet done to all of us is the omnipresence. It's there everywhere at this point of time. And it is actually multifaceted. One way of talking about it is, you look at the computer screen back again. You can see a number of faces to it. It comes as an email, there is FaceTime, there is video, and there is endless amount of creation of content. And so also, consumption of content. You should realize that you consume content because you read an email at any point of time. What are you doing? is that you are consuming content. You're reading a newspaper, you're consuming content. You're right now writing a paper, you're creating content. So internet, from what it was and what it has become, is unimaginable. Every minute, actually, to the extent that people now have lost thread of how much amount of content is being created and consumed every minute. Because it's from, people used to say there was a teraflop of data that used to get created. A teraflop does not necessarily mean anything at this point of time in the current age and days that we live. And all of it got created digitally, and all of it became available online to us. So therefore, what has internet done to our life? I said, look, 10 years. So can somebody tell me what internet did to your life? Can somebody stand up, lift your hand? You have a chance to talk. If you don't talk, I will now say, I'll point out and say, you, that's what I'm going to say, right? So I see a very young face in the extreme left here. Young man, why don't you stand up? So what has internet done to your life?
It has fastened up the process that actually takes an hour a day for a human being to perform. That means if you go to a library and search about thing, it takes a whole day. But if you Google it, you can get in within a second.
Excellent. Let's give him a clap. Wonderful. Thank you. So what's your name?
Ashwin Kumar.
Ashwin Kumar? Okay. So what Ashwin is saying, and rightly so, is that it has tremendously changed the efficiency of human beings. I think he said 2 or 3 things, actually. We'll analyze them as we go forward. One he said is that he has to go and search in a library for a book, as opposed to that he could do it online at this point of time. So therefore, instead of going and physically going to a library, physically skimming through books, and finally finding that physical book was taken by your friend already, without knowing whether he is reading or not reading, he or she has the book with him or her. You are actually robbed of an opportunity to learn. So what is it is making you very efficient. And the second one is, if you had a question, you Google the question, and still if you don't find the right answer, you can always go back and research again. So what it was, that the ability to learn has become much, much faster. You can learn much faster than what it was. The time and age that I live, personally, I get back to home around, say, 7 o'clock in the evening, 6:30, 7 o'clock. If you're not going out anywhere after I have a wash, I start sitting with my wife for having a meal. And typically what happens is that after that we together watch the TV for a while. While the TV goes on, I still have a laptop, an iPad, or an iPhone, any one of those in my hand. And if there is anything in doubt, what we do is Google it. So even at 60 years, I still have, so long as I have an urge to learn, I have now facilities which can make me more knowledgeable than I am. So therefore, the first one that came by is the increased efficiency to human beings because of the internet. And certainly we feel that it has made a lot more life easier. We will talk about it as we move forward. But I think today we're all tight. I'm sure some of you also use the voice activation. Does the young man on his MacBook have voice activation? So have you trained your machine to listen to you carefully?
No, sir.
No, you haven't. Why haven't you done that? Sorry?
I've never gotten the
Chance to do it. Good. But I think you should try it. I see that is another thing that I want all of you to learn. If you see something new, please try it out. If you don't know something, go and find out about it. Life is short, but you could do enormous amount of learning given that you're all lucky children. You're all born at a time when really, the world is different from what it was when people like me stood in sat in classes like this. I used to write letters to my grandfather as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old child. I still recall it with great amount of fondness. The first time writing, that too, good old days, used to be a postcard. My grandfather was born probably in 1899 or so, still went to school and used to speak the best English I ever known from anybody. So I used to write these letters to him. An old man used to circle the spelling mistakes, the grammar mistakes in a card, very tinily etch exactly what the mistake was, put it in an envelope and send it back to me. That was the time I lived. I also have now a 6-year-old granddaughter. And the young lady teaches me how to pronounce English at this point of time. So they're saying Tata. Tata is basically the equivalent of grandfather in our local language. Do you know how to really pronounce this word called champagne? I was absolutely startled. And please don't mistake, this is not just with my granddaughter. I'm sure 6-year kids are given that ability. And more ability is coming into people like you. So therefore, you can become efficient, you become a lot more educative, a lot more knowledgeable. And we talked about language, but I think what I feel very soon will happen, and we'll come to that, and there are some applications at this point of time, not still in your hands or my hands still to that extent we like it to be, is the gesture-based recognition that will happen. I would just say open, and then the application should open. I say I need word, and word should come by, and I'm dictating. So it should do some amount of correction all by itself, auto-correction mode. So therefore, what I think will happen, and what is happening at this point of time, and all of you will recognize that, is certainly there is great amount of efficiency that comes into us. Can somebody distinctively share what the second contribution of information, the internet age has been? Yes, sir, please.
So the sharing of information and connection with people is quite faster.
Fantastic. Good. So let's give him a clap here. Good answer. So, we are being in a position to connect with the world and share information with them. Share knowledge with them. Who is them? We are also them. So the result is we can have more knowledge at our fingertips. The second one that I like to talk about is that before I get there, there's a very classic example. People talk about how efficiency came into life. I think it's in this interesting book by Eric Schmidt. So people recognize who is Eric Schmidt?
Co-founder of Google.
Good. Who said that? Very good. Good job. Co-founder of Google is Eric Schmidt. Eric Schmidt's book talks about this Congolese woman who is a fisherwoman at this point of time, how she gets benefited with the internet age. She used to go fish through the day, come to the market, never found how much she could sell. And if she did not sell enough, the fish got spoiled. As opposed to that, she's now on the boat, she is connected, and as a result, as she catches fish, she's updating her website, and every 2 hours she comes to the shore to download what she has based on the demand she has for her ship, for her fish. If there's no demand, she stops fishing. So look at the benefits that have come, or efficiency that has come to the environment. We've seen the Congolese woman does not require to fish for too long if she can't sell. She doesn't require a refrigerator. She certainly doesn't need to spoil the environmental ecosystem, because she can just fish to the extent that is required. And there's so many more that we can talk about, and there are endless number of examples. Let's move on to the second one. The second benefit that I think that the internet age brought to us is our quality of life has changed. Our quality of life has become much healthier. It's become much safer, and it's become much engaged. I like a movie song. I don't need to wait too long. And I just go Google it. If required, I need to pay those $1.50 to get the whole jukebox. I go and get it. But the fact is that, look, I get very engaged. My quality of life. Otherwise, I just searched it. I'd have gone to a music shop. Endless amount of pain I have to go through. Or you look at the health part of it that's coming. Tremendous amount of benefits that come in because of sharing of knowledge. Today, the doctors rely on internet more than many of us who are sitting in this room, because they have a repartee of knowledge sitting on the websites of different locations. And certainly, the whole world has become safer. Though it might not have again come to all of us, is that there are now driverless cars. Google has a driverless car with them. It's done 1 million miles, a fleet of cars actually, it's just one. And they had just one accident, I believe. And that too, it's because of a human error. It was not the car which made the mistake. It's all of it is again using internet as the backbone. So therefore, I can go on endlessly on this, on how we have seen advances in healthcare, medicine, how they've all become significantly different, and they've become game changers. But I'll stop there and ask this question to all of you, which is, so in what way will it make a difference to us as budding engineers? What way it will make difference to us as budding engineers? All of you aspire to become engineers, right? How many of you are computer science? All hands should go up, I thought. No. And how many of you are electronics engineers? And I like to see, no, electronics is too small. I thought I should see at least 60 hands going up. That's okay. Where are those biotechnology people? 1, 2, very good. 3, very good. Thank you. So therefore, so what does all this mean to you as a potential engineer? Anybody wants to volunteer an answer? Please. Sorry.
The amount of scope in research.
Very good. So what's your name?
Shitanshu.
Shitanshu's answer is that it provides an opportunity. That's what he means. Scope for research. It is tremendous amount of opportunity that's there. So what we have seen is that internet age and technologies of current vintage provide tremendous amount of disruption. What is in today is not in for tomorrow. Amazing applications, amazingly different applications that come in. For example, the last one that really impressed me is an applet called Uber. I know many of you might not have heard about it, so I'll not ask this question, what does Uber do, unless somebody knows what Uber does. Somebody's hand goes up. Uber, UberX. No, okay. I won't tax you too much on that for the simple reason that it's basically a taxi application. For people like me, it's honestly a great gift from internet. You finished a meeting, given where I am in my life, I don't intend to drive, so I like to call a taxi. So what was the past? And past was that we used to call for a taxi, call the guy will tell you that it will take him 20 minutes, he'll land up in next half an hour, maybe he'll land up 45 minutes later. You don't have a choice, you just waited for him. Get to this applet called Uber. You register yourself. You open the app and say, go and press on that icon called I need a car. What does it show? It's amazing stuff. It opens up the map where you are physically. Because of your mobile phone, it knows where physically you are in terms of GPS. It then shows up all the cars in your vicinity. They're not dots. Actually, you get pictures of little cars that are there in your vicinity. Those are the cars which actually are available at that point of time for you to rent as taxi. Just go and touch the car. And believe me, in 30 seconds you see if a car is going in a direction which is opposite to you, but you want the car back to you, you see the car taking a U-turn in 30 seconds to 45 seconds. So the guy comes to you, he knows where exactly you are, so therefore he's not searching, he's not asking for your address, none whatsoever. He knows you're there in that corner. He just asks you once confirm before you get into the car. Asks you where you want to go. And then he types it in his machine, which is again an iPhone, nothing more than that. And takes you to the destination, and you just jump out of the car and say thank you to him. So people may say, are you not paying for it? Because you have an account with Uber. It goes into your account. Actually, you only ask occasionally, or he doesn't even ask that question, I guess. I need to put it myself. Is it your business or is it private? We have two accounts with that. So look at the type of what this is an application which will say quality of life is improved. But look at the other way around. It is brought about a disruption into the taxi business. Taxi companies are going to courts at this point of time saying that this is illegal. Why is it illegal? There's an extra capacity, people are there, they can come and do that. And actually you can have UberX is basically, it's much more, Uber is actually, you get a Lincoln Town car, which is a larger car, it's a black limo car that you get. But you go to UberX, it's basically, I, as a person, believe that I don't have nothing to do in the next 3 hours. And I have an UberX account, I just go and say my car is available. So what is it? It's capacity utilization. I had a car which is lying idle, I have a person who is idle, so we are trying to do what? We are trying to make sure that this capacity that got utilized with an enormous amount of asset gets utilized. So therefore, the opportunity is plenty. The disruption is challenging because for what you're doing, I'm sure Rajesh and I and several others who are in the business have this challenge all the time. Because there could potentially be a new disruption that comes in tomorrow, and that disruption can certainly take us off the ground. So one way it is challenging. On the other way of looking at it is, look at the opportunity that presents to you. Opportunity which is enormous. Opportunity which was in the past never so good. But opportunity will only come and marry prepared minds. So if you say that, look, what am I interested? I will just go to the class, listen to my lecturer, do the homework, and go submit the assignments. That's end of it, all of it. Then, you're not the guy who will definitely are using the opportunity. I enjoy every moment of my life. I'll make best use of it. I will learn as much as I can. I'll apply myself to it. Then you are a different guy. You are a potential winner. Look at some of the guys who did it so well so far. And I'll just give you two examples which are the ones which attract my attention all the time. So let's take a pool. Whom do you think has done extremely well in this internet age in using this opportunity? Give me some names. No, one more time. I can't hear you guys. Wow, very good. Mark Zuckerberg. So, 10 years back, so several people said that. So that's the reason why I didn't want to say, who said it first, please stand up. Who said it first? Stand up. All of you should stand up. Thank you. I don't want to do that. So, Mark Zuckerberg is one name. How old is he? He's about 29 years old. We'll give you a couple more years. Every time, you don't read every day, right, about Mark Zuckerberg. So since you read, he's become older by a couple of years. He's about 29, I believe, right now. People did not know of Mark Zuckerberg 10 years back. He did not exist. But he created a company which has a market cap of $100 billion in a span of just 10 years. There are not many companies in this country which have a $100 billion market cap, which is the largest and the oldest IT company in India. Seriously. Say louder. Even if you're hesitant, you should say, speak louder. So what? If you could be wrong this time, you turn to be TCS. Right. TCS is not only the largest, but also the oldest company in India in terms of IT services. How big are they? Any clue? $1 billion? $2 billion? $5 billion? $10 billion? They're a $12 billion company. But their market cap, and the largest company in India, they employ close to 2 lakh people right now, or 2.3 lakhs is I think the last number that I know. But has a market cap of about $34 billion. Mr. F.C. Koehli, Fakir Chand Koehli, who was the chairman of the board and the founder of, literally it's a Tata company, all right, but it was Mr. Koehli's vision which made TCS what it is, had this vision of creating a computer software services company way back in the 1970s, 67 I think is when he incorporated, 45-year-old company. 45-year-old company has a market cap of $38 billion, the largest, it's the darling of the stock markets at this point of time in this country. But a kid of 29 years old, Mr. Koehli is about 80 plus years now, 28 years or 29 years old, creates a company in 10 years with a market cap which is $100 billion. That's the opportunity that's there. That's an opportunity which not only Mark Zuckerberg did it. But if you look at companies like Google, Google is $190 billion now, twice as large as Facebook is. Or, of course, Apple, which is at about $500 billion today. What did Zuckerberg talk about? What made Zuckerberg so successful? I'm sure all of you know the name of the company. What is it called? Facebook. Very good. So what's the idea behind Facebook? Somebody wants to stand up and tell all of us.
To connect people. Actually made to connect people from other different regions where they cannot meet up as a person. So they just connect through virtual connections.
Very good. So, good answer. What's your name?
Tanmay.
Tanmay? Good answer. Primarily, what he played on is, generally as human beings, all of us, you, me, etc., we all like to socialize. You might go and read a book and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, you like to have your friends, and you like to talk to them, meet with them, touch them, feel them, look into their eyes, and so on and so forth. So that socialization part is what Mark Zuckerberg decided to exploit. You like to share with people. I'm sure somebody is tweeting at this point of time. No? So you look at the Twitter too. It's the same thing, instantaneous messaging that has to come to a social environment that you created. So therefore, because of whether it is Facebook, or it is Twitter, or it is LinkedIn, and all these sites that we have at this point of time, honestly, to people like me, there's nothing called waiting. There's nothing called boredom. I switch off the light in my bedroom only when I feel that I'm ready to sleep. But till I get to sleep, I read something. I'm typing something. So therefore, actually, if you look at it, one of the astonishing things that have happened is that you can't now draw a line between your business time and your personal time. What in the past, we went to work, we used to be there till 5:30 in the evening or 6 o'clock in the evening, that was it. You got absolutely disconnected with your business thereafter. I run a global business at this point of time, and as a result of that, what do I see at this point of time is that even at 2 o'clock suddenly I wake up and I want to look at my email, which I don't do that. I made a promise to my wife these days that I don't wake up at 2 o'clock and look at emails. But I did it in the past. You're responding back. People might ask, who the hell is awake at 2 o'clock in the night to send you an email? It's 4:30 in North America in the East Coast. It is still 1:30 in the afternoon in Los Angeles. Or in Tokyo office, it's already 8:30. So therefore, there are people. So therefore, this connectivity is something which made life so different for all of us. What we will see moving forward is, we will see that as many as 2 more billion people will get added into the internet world in the next 2 years. And every 1 minute, I believe, out of 7 minutes, human beings will spend time on the internet. So we talked about a young man who really used a great opportunity with this internet age in terms of creating a company called Facebook. What's the other names that come to your mind? Larry Page. That's Google. Larry Page, Eric Schmidt, and who's the third? Sergey, right. That's a great company. What else comes to your mind? Yeah. Steve Jobs is another name that comes into many people's mind. And I think look at his profile too. For lack of many other words, which I truly feel that we could describe him, I keep calling him a magician. That's what he did to this world. A man who lived only for 56 years but you look at the enormity in terms of his contribution. He was a technologist, he was a corporate leader, and he loved gadgets. And what did he do therefore? Actually, I believe there's no parallel in mankind so far who had such a profound effect back on mankind as a single individual. Look at his pole position as a leader in 4 different industries. What are those 4? Pixar is one. That's basically animation, music. That's where he really established himself as one. Sorry? Pixar was one. Media in the area of media, publishing, etc. We look at the telecommunication right now. Look at this wonder gadget. I get very fascinated. I actually used to get extremely fascinated about aircrafts at one point of time in life. Just to give you a background, by training, I'm a mechanical engineer. My company has about, now how many of them? Maybe about 3,000 to 3,500 aerospace engineers who work for us, who work on building aircraft for companies like Boeing, designing aircraft for Boeing, or Airbus, or doing engines for Pratt & Whitney, and so on and so forth. So even today, with great amount of fascination, I travel quite extensively. It's in a way I keep saying, it used to be, say, 3 years back, bizarre. I used to spend at least 100 room nights outside my home every year. It doesn't mean that I'm only out 100 days. You can always be 2 days out and only 1 room night you spend. That's what my travel schedule was. But if I had a chance at the airport, and I had a chance to see an aircraft take off, I would never even blink an eyelid and watch it. Even today I do that. It's an amazing stuff that used to appeal to me, continues to be. What appeals to me equally well these days is my iPhone. It's a fascinating story of how Steve Jobs could get to integrate computing, music, and telephony all into one. They talked about this room full of computer costing $2 million or $3 million. And today what does an iPhone cost? $500. Probably it's costing a little more. I just bought one, I believe, for 45,000 rupees. So it's probably $700, $750. In US, it's more like about $400 gadget. So the result is that these are the people who actually made use of this opportunity to create something outstanding. And given that you live in the times that you are certainly very lucky people that you could make good use of this opportunity. So you are in a great location, great university. Certainly what you need to do thereafter is, given that luck has come automatically to you, I'm sure some of you have worked very hard to get to NU at this point of time, is to work harder to make sure you become successful in life. This is just first stepping stone. And there is enough of research at this point of time which says technology changes are doubling every 2 years, which means effectively what you learn in your first year will get outdated by the time you graduate from this college. So one of the key things that you have to do is to constantly keep yourself up to date. That's only when you'll probably become useful to others and you would have gratification about yourself. Let me then move on to tell you that what I think are the future of technologies. This is a study that was done by McKinsey, and McKinsey talks about 12 things that are very relevant to all of you. That's the reason why I thought, I'll talk about those 12 things for next few minutes. These are disruptive, but they have tremendous amount of potential, and they are very related to you. One of the things that they think will be highly successful in coming years is mobile internet. People will throw away the desktops, the laptops, even the iPhones. It will all have to be, not iPhones, iPads, and it all has to be coming down to mobile internet. People carry the gadgets along with them. You don't need to go to a lab to get connected. You don't need to go to a location to say that I need information, but you will see mobile internet becoming the key driver for the mankind all around the world. Actually, in several ways, even today, I guess, at $750, I couldn't say an iPhone 5 is accessible to all of us. Many of us cannot afford that. But what we will see happening in the next 3 years is affordability will go up, which effectively means that the cost of this gadgetry will come down. You will see that they will be very inexpensive compared to what it is today. So it will not be a luxury any longer, but it will become a part and parcel of your day-to-day gadgetry that you require. So therefore, look at mobile internet applications as an area that you like to learn and focus yourself. The second one that McKinsey's predicted at this point of time is there will be enormous amount of automation that will be required with the knowledge work that we do. That is, you write papers, you write articles, they get published and so on and so forth. That's just knowledge. But we need to find a way in which this knowledge gets automatically assimilated within people. So the result is that you'll see a more amount of unstructured way in which you'll start learning. There will be, you'll certainly see more amount of commands which are going through language. So computers have to understand spoken language. They have to understand fuzzy logic. That's how people will start learning, as opposed to saying, I will studiously sit in front of a screen and read a letter by letter. So therefore, you will see a lot amount of automation in the knowledge work. And a third one, which is another fascinating gadgetry, one example I had with me, it's not on me today, but I'll tell you a little bit about it, is that there is Internet of Things. There will be enormous amount of usage of sensors and actuators on equipment. So what is the example that I had in mind, and I don't have it on me, is that I have a sensor on my wrist, which I wear most of the time, which tells me how many steps I have done during a day, which keeps a tab. That's just nothing but because of, I believe, the pressure that comes, or the vibration that comes in your body whenever you put a step. The vibration is being captured by the sensor on your wrist. And how do you then see on the screen, etc., with those nice charts and so on and so forth? Just plug it into your iPhone. Use the audio jack, put it into it, and it tells you, how much walk that you've done. That could sound very mundane to you, but on a very serious note, I mentioned to you that I work in the area of aerospace. And today, the number of sensors that are there on an aircraft engine, after an aircraft lands in an airport, the engine actually tells the mechanic that I need repair. It's no more that you take an engine into an MRO shop, as it's called, that's the maintenance repair overhaul shop, and then start doing inspection to say, what requires repair and what doesn't require repair after completely disassembling the engine. But without that, the engine itself communicates, saying that, I require repair. So that will become a lot more to the extent that, on the lighter vein, doesn't apply so much to me, it applies to most of you here, is that I believe you just go stand in front of a mirror. The computer application will tell you that you require a haircut. Because if you choose the way in which you want to look like at some point of time, and that becomes the template standard, and you put certain limits on what it can be higher or lower. Thereafter, you just go stand in front of a mirror, it says time for you to go to haircut, and then the computer schedules all the rest of it. This is not virtual reality. This is physical reality I'm talking about. This is not something that I'm saying is futuristic, it is right around the corner. A fourth one that we think will happen is that a sizable amount of our applications will move onto a cloud. That is, the hardware and the software need not reside on these bulky machines. Look at the weight of this computer. What we will see is that, look, most of your data, most of your applications are lying somewhere else on the cloud. And how does it happen? Again, it's because of the internet connectivity that you have is when you will see a tremendous amount of change happening. You also would see, the fifth one that I have is advances in robotics, and especially enormous amount of change in medical and healthcare. Robotics arms have become very common. I'm sure several of you heard about non-invasive procedures. That is, you don't open the stomach and then you do the surgery. You could send a tube, but then what the tube is doing inside is all what the surgeon was doing, opening the stomach and or taking things in or taking things out. But that is being done by a robotic mechanism which is at the end of that tube. So you would see more amount of robotics that will come into, especially in manufacturing and more importantly in healthcare. And on the sixth one that I see happening, which McKinsey also says on the sixth priority right now in terms of economic benefit, and that is very relevant to all of you, is this autonomous cars. Driverless cars or driver assist cars. I'm sure most of you know that airplanes can do that at this juncture. They can go into what is called an autopilot mode. What's autopilot mode? It takes off on its own, it can land on its own, it can navigate itself on its own, so long as you set some parameters around it. That, today, I think it's prohibitively expensive to have a driver assist car, but I am very sure in your generation, we will see that happening. And the seventh one that I have is for my good friends from biotechnology, is that you would see more amount of next generation genomics. Today, to get a genome tested, it costs you a lot of money. And as a result of a lot of money being spent, it's not become popular. What we will see is that today people can, with a swab, you can get it done. You can get your genome completely deciphered, genetics completely deciphered. More interestingly, thereafter, with enormous amount of data that's available, you can interpret potential diseases that are there. You can advise people on what precautionary measures that have been taken in order to ensure that those do not affect the patient. So the result is what we are going to see is that tremendous amount of usage of next generation genomics. And the eighth one I have here is about energy storage. I don't know how many of you heard about the story of a young man from Kenya who in the recent past has an innovation which generates enough of energy from the wafer thin chip he has in his shoe. Because of the pressure that you put on your leg when you walk, the chip generates enough of energy to charge the cell phone. It's actually likely to be commercialized, I believe, in the next 3 to 6 months. So therefore, that's an innovation. And again, not so well heard about, but this is a 21-year-old Kenyan engineer who came with this innovation. So therefore, you will see that tremendous amount of requirements in terms of energy storage, and data use. And the ninth one is what I'm very fascinated about, is what we keep calling it as 3D printing. That's the other very disruptive technology that has come into existence in the world of the recent past. Can you tell us what is 3D printing? You seem to know about it. Be brave, stand up. Tell everybody what is 3D printing.
So it's like a 3D, you print it on the paper, but it's
Printed on paper, it's like a 3D thing. Somebody else has an answer for 3D printing? Yeah.
So actually 3D printing is a kind of three-dimensional modeling where we add the layers to produce a desired model. Actually a gun has been designed by this technology.
Gun has been designed, you say. Okay. Fairly close. Very close. Any other guesses? Yes.
It's like instead of printing in X and Y axis, the printing can be done in Z axis also. So it can help in getting the models.
Yes. So basically what people call 3D printing is also called additive technology. You look at a part that's made. Take the example of, say, even my reading glasses that I have here. Physically, they would have taken something which is straightened out, and then they would take material out of it, bent it, and so on and so forth. So in the whole process, what happens is that this particular product that is being created, you lose a lot of material. You probably are losing a lot of, you don't know the type of stresses that you would undergo, and there's a lot of research that's been done on it. As opposed to that, people, what they now do is use powder metallurgy, powder metals, and start printing objects that are required. And you would be so fascinated to hear. It's just like, actually, we have one 3D printer in our own office, where we want to demonstrate to our engineers what they design, how they would look like when they are produced. But the one which we use in our office is basically plastic as a material. But you wouldn't believe this, but today, aircraft parts are being made from 3D printing. Actually, the last one that I heard is a new application coming in, that every day morning, you can take your newspaper, put it into your 3D printing. 3D printing machines, incidentally, are also become very inexpensive. You could put your newspaper into your 3D printing machine, and it just puts in a coat of photovoltaic cells. So you have the newspaper outside your window, I believe, and it gives you enough power for the day. So that's the type of revolution that you would see in terms of technologies. This is no fiction. This is all reality, believe me. They're all happening at this point of time. It's only a question of two things, I guess. We need to get the cost structures right, and we need to commercialize them. And if we have commitment, you have leadership, that can always happen. Take the example of even the iPhones itself. Actually, the glass that gets on top of an iPhone was an application that came from Department of Defense. And people were very hesitant, saying that, look, the costs are so high, it can never be commercialized. But the Steve Jobs, who went and convinced the CEO of Dow Corning, saying that the volumes are so large, with even a DoD technology, which is considered to be extremely expensive, could be commercialized to provide a viable alternative for a phone which will not have a pane which can get cracked. So therefore, what we think is that there will be a tremendous amount of applications will come on 3D printing. The challenge now is, how does the bonding take place between metals? Because there are aircraft parts that are being made, so therefore you need to have great amount of strength, and those are the issues that are being addressed. And that leads me into my 10th prediction that I have, courtesy McKinsey, of course, is there will be a tremendous amount of advances in materials. I just now mentioned about 3D printing, where you need powder metallurgy, which will have tremendous amount of strength. It's not, honestly, I believe, I know people who have been working very intensely into 3D printing, they're not worried anymore in terms of creating these objects. That's become a piece of cake for them. What is important for them is to bring the strength into the parts. So the focus is not on 3D printing machines. And also the other thing that's happened is the 3D printing machines have become very inexpensive. Actually, HP sends, it uses only plastic, all right. I bought a machine for about $150,000 at one point of time. But people laugh at me today, it's about 2 years old, because I think similar machines, it's not the same machine, are available for as many as $1,500. So it's not the cost of the equipment which has become prohibitively expensive. What has become expensive is the technology underlying the material. How could you produce material which can have enough of strength to get into various different parts? And of course, a bizarre application, I don't know whether some of you have read, you can produce actually a gun using 3D printing technology in your home itself. Models are available on the internet. You can buy a 3D printing machine from HP, and you can do it. Except I believe you can't use a rubber bullet because it can't be as effective as the others, but it can be effective as any other commercial pistol at this juncture. So therefore, material is the 10th prediction I have. And the last two I have is to do with something a little away from you, but there are technologies that you will probably dabble around with, is advances in oil and gas industry. I'm sure some of you heard about this word called shale gas. The key challenge in shale gas at this point of time is available in plenty, but you cannot bring it out very economically. US has just brought about a few, what they call crackers. That's the technology that they use in terms of extracting the gas from the rock that's there. It's not unlike our natural gas, which is available in pockets, shale gas actually gets into the rock itself. So you can't bring all the rock from subsurface and then create the gas outside. What you need to do is, you need to bring out the gas from the rock itself and then pull it out from the subsurface earth. So that's the last but one. And finally, I think, I just mentioned about an example, all right, but the other 12th prediction that we'll see enormous amount of disruption is on the renewable energy. So I told you all about opportunities. You live in a time when they're there. I shared with you about 12 different potential opportunities that come by. So then what stops you between you and those opportunities? What is the challenge between you and an opportunity at this point of time? Somebody wants to take a guess? It's something called
lack of knowledge at this point of time.
you can get that knowledge too, isn't it? Maybe you have some of it, you will learn some more of it. But to get that some more of it, and the fact that you're admitting that it's lack of knowledge, it's a very good thing, is your attitude. Attitude to learn. Attitude to be the best. And what does it require? What does it require? What does it require to have an attitude which says, I have to be the best?
Passion.
Your passion. It's here. I don't need to change it. I can't come and turn the screw on, and nobody comes and turns those bolts and nuts on for you. It has to be you who have to define yourself, what your life is going to be. Because you got a tremendous amount of opportunity in front of you, and still there will be a lot more coming in. It doesn't seem to be stopping. We think the pace of change has actually increased at this point of time. So which means that there are challenges, but there are opportunities that come along with it. And the way in which you scale that opportunity is your attitude. I was in class 7. I have also a sister who is elder to me by a year. And my mother saw my marks in class 7 and told me one thing. at the end of class 8, I had a choice to make. What was that? If I got first class, she'd continue to be keeping in the school. Otherwise, she would send me to the village where my grandfather lived to go and make sure I looked after the farm. And more interestingly, she said something more. She said, look, you have your sister who's 1 year elder to you. She can come first in class. Why doesn't it happen with you? Not belittling my sister in any way, but saying a girl can do that. Why not a boy? Life changed after that. Life changed to the level that I graduated from. Actually, great amount of pride, I keep telling people. I believe still I have a record in Andhra University. Those days, the 12th standard was called pre-university. In physics and chemistry, we were evaluated for 200. I got 191 out of 200, which is not a breakable record. So what difference did it make from me from an 8th class student to a 12th class student? Is something called attitude. I then graduated in mechanical engineering, I got a gold medal, all that history for me today. If I could do it, everybody else can do it. What am I different from any of you? I'm the same human being as you are. So I'm not saying that you concentrate only in learning. You have to have a holistic development of yourself. So make sure that you have every facet of life. I played hard in everything that I did. Pardon me, I give you one more example. I also used to play university tennis for Andhra University. And so I not only got a gold medal, but I also represented Andhra University in tennis. So you can be the best in whatever you choose to be in. And where is it? It's here. It's within you. If you think that you can do it, you can definitely do it. That's where I think you should definitely become yourself to be different from others. You need to enjoy every moment of your life because there's no second life for us. So study hard, make sure that you enjoy yourself, whether you're in art, you're in music. I saw a young lady a couple of weeks back, a young lady who was performing an Arangetram or Ranga Pravesam in Bharatanatyam. But she was also going to Stanford. She actually was, she got a medal in, from the school district. Her parents live in Washington, D.C., and from the school district in terms of action, plays. So therefore, what do we derive from all these examples? Is that, are they any different from us? No. Maybe there could be a small edges in terms of opportunities that come, but opportunities today in front of you are the same for everybody else. So therefore, there's only one life, there's no second life. And make sure that you live that life fully. And finally, I will stop with this. Professor Pandey was kind enough to say how much he enjoyed about what I talked last time here about values being first. That's probably punchline that we have in the company. First stands for fairness, integrity, respect, sincerity, and trust. That's the foundation with which I built a company which has got about 11,000 engineers who work for us now. But more importantly, what I wanted to share with you as youngsters is that if money is lost, to me, nothing is lost. Because you can always make that money. If you lose your health, something is lost. Because it takes time for you to get back your health. But if you lose your values, you will never get them back. Everything is lost. So make sure that you never lose your values. Good luck to you, and God bless all of you. Thank you very much.